I can't believe I'm having to make this video. I've been exposed to some of the dumbest gaming discourse I've ever seen in my life. So to catch up to speed on what's happened, recently Ubisoft released a trailer for their game Star Wars Outlaws, and people are complaining that the protagonist looks ugly. Yep. That's the drama. Oh, well, there's more to it, you see. People are going around saying that Western game developers are uglifying their female characters on purpose, and this is something we should worry about. I didn't want to engage any further with that, so I opened up YouTube instead, and what is that on my homepage? Why modern gaming sucks, ugly characters everywhere. I guess this is what I get for looking up videos about the death of gaming for a video I was making. So fuck it, let's see what this is all about. Let's dig in. So what I'm trying to understand is, in what way does having a protagonist that isn't conventionally attractive affect a game? I'll ask you a question. Name one game that was noticeably negatively impacted by how ugly the main character looked. I'll wait. Did you think of any? Because I did. I thought of one single game out of the hundreds out there. Mass Effect Andromeda, a game that I have never played. When this game came out, people slammed it so hard for its awkward looking character models and animations. And I get it, you know, this is a game where a substantial amount of time is spent talking to people and seeing their faces and seeing your own face, and the uncanny valley look can take you out of it. But this is a game-wide issue to do with models and for the most part animations, not specifically to do with the main character's design. There's a difference between unattractive and just plain not looking right, and this is a case of the latter. And even then, you can customize your character's look in-game and make them look less jarring. So that's one game that kinda sorta counts? I don't think that's enough to prove that protagonists being too ugly in games is an issue. You know, there have been cases where I thought a game was improved because of how the main character looked, but not because I found them attractive. I think Ori from the Ori games and Nico from One Shot are cute. I'd say that's a part of what makes them so likable. But I've never played a video game and gone, oh, this character's attractiveness is adding so much to my gameplay experience. There are protagonists out there that are unattractive by design that no one gives a shit about the looks of. Case in point, Wario, intentionally designed to be evil and unattractive. He picks his nose, he farts, he eats whole cloves of garlic, and yet to this day I have never heard someone complain, oh, I can't stand to look at Wario, I can't even play a Wario game for 5 minutes because he's just too hideous. No one says that. No one lets Wario's looks affect them like this, they just play the game. What about old wrinkly Snake from Metal Gear Solid 4? The man is past his prime, he's literally a decaying clone. Not the most attractive person to look at, yeah, but people don't care, they just play the game. Trevor from GTA 5, again, not conventionally attractive, but people don't care. They just play the game. It's almost like normal people don't let people's looks bother them this much. You know, it's so important for kids to learn the lesson of don't judge people based on looks from an early age. Not just because kids are unempathetic shitheads, but because it has a lifelong impact. Growing up, you see all the different ways the human face and body can look. You meet people, develop relationships, and realize that what's on the inside, what a person acts like, matters more. And in the end, you'll find that you might not value looks as much as you did before. This is just life experience, and this is what happens when you don't get that life experience.
The truth of the matter is that nobody enjoys looking at ugly people.
I wonder what this person's definition of ugly is. Let's find out.
Prominent chin that would make even Sergeant Slaughter jealous, a wide, strong jawline, thin lips, and small eyes.
You know, this isn't a Mass Effect Andromeda situation where people's eyes look like they're about to pop out of their sockets and there's an uncanny valley thing going on. No, this looks like an actual human being that could exist. These features that you mentioned are things that women can and do have. This is natural. You would know this if you went outside and saw people. These people love to use specific pictures to push their point. Yeah, this lower angle sure does highlight that stronger jaw. You know, I don't know if you know this, but the human face doesn't look super flattering from every angle. Have you ever pulled out your phone, looked down at it, opened the selfie camera, and went, God, I look hideous? I'm sure we all have. What about this image here? This is taken while the character is mid-sentence. You know, I don't know if you know this, but sometimes the human face looks real awkward when it's mid-action or mid-sentence. Just look at all these mid-action freeze frames from the Star Wars movies. Pretty unflattering, huh? These are the pictures that people are refraining from showing. She doesn't look bad in these at all. This is not what your average person would call ugly. Plus, she's a bounty hunter, and she looks quite pristine for one. A lot of bounty hunters in the Star Wars franchise are all roughed up and scraggly. Another character that's brought up is Mary Jane from Spider-Man 2. I'll save you the time. He makes the same complaints plus thicker eyebrows. Again, you're using a lower angle to make her look worse. The Spider-Man games have a weird history with model changes. Why did they change Peter's model? I don't know. Why does MJ's model look different? I don't know. They were both based off the same human model. Maybe it has something to do with her breaking her jaw and getting surgery. Maybe not. Regardless, she still looks fine despite these masculine features that you mentioned. I'd say Miles' new suit is a bigger problem than this. They did my boy dirty. And then there's Aloy from the Horizon games.
The image on the right, on the other hand, is so masculine that if you were to give her some facial hair, you'd basically be left with a man.
Using an unflattering angle to push your point, huh? There are other images of her from the same game where she just looks better. And again, like the other woman that we've seen, she's not what people would classify as unattractive at all. Also, you're not gonna believe this, but Aloy's model is so detailed she has teeny tiny hairs on her face, just like real women have if you look up close. So these are the characters that are so ugly you wouldn't enjoy looking at them.
Bland, ugly, unappealing models that nobody wants to look at.
Models that are so ugly that you wouldn't want to look at them.
Uglification.
Say psych right now. Sir, how do you live your day-to-day life? If this is how you feel about these women, it must be so hard going outside and seeing all those average-looking individuals. Bro is single-handedly proving how damaging beauty standards can be. You're sitting here nitpicking details about characters that look fine because they don't look like the woman from the magazine. No wonder there's so many people that don't feel like their appearance is enough when judgmental asshats like you exist. See, this is what happens when you don't learn to have basic human decency. I've got the feeling that video games might be a bit too much for you. How about we sit you in front of an episode of Barney instead? You may not intend it, but you're implying that real women who have these masculine features have a problem. What are these women supposed to do about it? Fucking shapeshift? You know, maybe the solution is that we accept that women can be this way and move on with our lives. These aren't the only women that are criticized in this video though. There's footage of Abby from The Last of Us Part 2, and even though nothing is said about her, it's not hard to tell why she's included in the video. She's a muscular, masculine woman and thus easily falls under their argument. And then there's the woman from the new Fable trailer. Apparently people freaked out over this trailer 9 months ago because of her appearance. Again, she looks like she could be an actual person. Everyone keeps using the same goddamn angle. And so what if this character isn't conventionally attractive? Again, we've played as men who aren't conventionally attractive before. And if I'm being honest, this character fits the part of average medieval villager who picked up a sword and wants to be a hero. If that's what they're going for. You know, another possibility is that, well, apparently in the Fable games, your appearance changes based on the good or bad actions you perform. So maybe this is a neutral state that can change based on your actions, kind of like that movie, Nanny McPhee. I know this is all just theories, yeah, but we still don't know much about this game at all. We don't know if this is the only model available to play as. The reaction to this trailer is overblown. Now, if you thought that was all, well, let's just say that these women being eyesores is only the beginning of the problem.
The first major problem seems to be a general rejection of femininity and female beauty in modern game development.
Again, if we're talking about beauty, then it's best that you speak for yourself. I don't know if you know this, but different people have different preferences in women. Attraction is subjective. What a shocker. And you're saying that by these characters merely existing, it's a rejection of femininity? If I made a video game about a skinny feminine man character, am I rejecting masculinity? Am I saying that making masculine man characters is bad? No, I think masculine men are cool. I'm simply making a game about a feminine man. If I make a game about aliens, would that mean I'm rejecting humanity? No, I just want to make a game about aliens. You're acting just like the kind of person this tweet here describes, aka a deranged Twitter user. I want to have a female character with some masculine features in my game. So you reject femininity? You know, if anything, having this kind of character in a game gives me the impression of, hey, women can and do look like this too. Not, we need to get feminine women out of our games. You know, you should learn the difference between messages that are actually intended by the creators of media and shit that you're just coming up with yourself. But no, this goes deeper. This is what the guy starts the video off with.
One of the best things about video games is that they allow us to transcend the petty limitations of the real world. It truly is the very purest form of creativity. Unless, of course, you happen to be a Western game developer, in which case your escapist fantasy entertainment absolutely has to reflect the world we live in today. The world we live in today. The world we live in today. The world we live in today.
Oh, I get it. The problem isn't that women can look masculine. The problem is that these developers are choosing to make their characters unattractive and reflective of the real world when they have the capability to make every character attractive. That is the problem. Of course, everyone knows that the only purpose of video games is to be escapist fantasy that isn't reflective of the real world. I said isn't reflective of the real world. What are you doing? Stop showing realistic games! No! Stop showing games about the mundanity of real life! Stop! You know, maybe the reason that a lot of protagonists in games are human or have human features, and the reason so many games take place on planet Earth is because as humans, we like familiarity and seeing ourselves in things we're familiar with reflected in games. The real world affects art and art affects the real world. Yes, some games are escapist fantasy, but you'd be surprised how much they borrow from our real world. If we know the qualities that make someone beautiful, why make characters that deviate from that? Well, first of all, most character design designers don't have ridiculous beauty standards. But there's also no rule that says that everyone must look beautiful, otherwise we wouldn't have games like Psychonauts or movies like Coraline. You know, it's almost like there's appeal to be found in the imperfections that make us unique. It's almost like beauty isn't everything. Why shouldn't we take inspiration from the different ways the human body can look when creating characters? Why limit ourselves? And there's a time and place for everything, you know? There are so many games where the whole point is that you play as an average dude. Wouldn't it be weird if Mario was super sexy? Or if Master Chief took off his helmet and was really hot? That'd be kinda weird, right? When a human character with unconventional features appears in a game, it tells me, hey, people can and do look like this too. And I wish other people would learn to accept this message. Maybe then we wouldn't have people who are so shallow and judgmental.
That's the whole point of playing video games, in fact. They're not supposed to reflect the real world with all its tedious, mundane problems and restrictions. They're supposed to represent something higher, something better, something more fun.
This is actually a really reductive statement. He's saying, only do things this way, don't do things this other way. How do you not realize how creatively limiting that is? Imagine if people said that about movies, shows, or animation. This art form is supposed to be about something higher. Stop making realistic things about real life. You know, just from listening to this guy, you'd be under the impression that there's been a massive wave of masculine female characters hitting the gaming scene. He's making it sound like an invasion. And how many characters have we mentioned so far? 5? Only 5. One of them isn't even a protagonist. At some point in the video, he does pull up an image with a bunch of other characters on it, but doesn't comment on any of them in detail. He probably didn't even make this image. Some of these are mid-action shots, which proves nothing. There's concept art, there's an old-looking woman, there's Jessie from Control, which is insane, and there's a whole row here dedicated to characters played by Deborah Wilson. What is your problem with her? And who's that in the top portion of this image? Is that the main character from Mass Effect Andromeda? A game that had model issues all around? Goes to show you how much the person who made this cares for nuance. And listen to what he's saying during this section.
A quick glance at your average AAA development page is like taking a walk down your average high street in Scotland. The faces you see vaguely correspond to your understanding of what human beings look like, but the features, proportions, and arrangements are so far off that you're left with a disturbingly intense urge to get out of there as quickly as possible and never look back.
Is that him just admitting to being disgusted by people he sees on the street? Just say that you hate looking at people, dude.
I could go on and on with this stuff all day.
Then do it. Go on. I'd love to hear more, because so far there's only 5 women I've seen that people have properly criticized online. Femininity isn't under attack, my dude. There's still been a lot of feminine characters in gaming in recent years, like Shadowheart from Baldur's Gate 3, V, Judy and Panam from Cyberpunk, Peppermint from Hi-Fi Rush, Juliana from Deathloop, Ellie from The Outer Worlds, Red and Violet from Neon White, Celine from Returnal, Frey from Forspoken, Danny from Far Cry 6, Alex from Life is Strange True Colors, Laura from The Quarry, Valir from Sea of Stars, Elster from Signalis, Sojourn and Kiriko from Overwatch 2, Amy, Carla, and Danny from Dead Island 2, a bunch of characters from Red Dead Redemption 2, multiple characters from Valorant, numerous characters from Apex Legends. I mean, for fuck's sake, people were going awooga at these 2 robot twins from Atomic Heart. They're super feminine and they don't even have faces. And these are just characters from games that came out in the past 5 years from Western developers. Femininity isn't going anywhere. You're probably wondering why I specified Western developers, and that's because, and they mentioned this in the video,
Western game developer.
They view this uglification as a Western game industry issue.
All you need to do is take a look at games like Final Fantasy Rebirth or Stellar Blade to see that we're more than capable of rendering beautiful characters on screen.
First of all, those games that you mentioned, they're not going for the same realistic face models that the Western games we've looked at go for. The models in both these games are stylized, they're inspired by anime. You can see it in the bigger eyes, the narrower chins, and everything. They're modeled off of real people, of course, but you're not gonna find someone who looks exactly like this in real life. Or this. And second of all, Marissa from Street Fighter 6. Marissa from Street Fighter 6. A big, muscular, wide-chinned, strong-jawed woman in an Eastern developed game that released last year? What? Why has no one mentioned this? Could it be because it pokes a hole in this argument? Yeah, they're only one character, but that's not much less than the 5 examples that you've given. 1v5 Marissa versus all these women, who would win? Type it in the comments. And I see you mentioning Final Fantasy VII as an example of beauty. Yet I remember 5 years ago when people were having a hissy fit over Aerith's face being a little longer and Tifa's chest size being reduced. I guess the Eastern industry isn't this perfect little thing that you make it out to be.
The developers were smart enough to give their customers exactly what they want. A kick-ass beautiful woman in a skin-tight bodysuit.
Really? Is this really what people wanted? Was anyone saying this? Was there really a demand? Or are you just pulling stuff out of your ass for the sake of your argument? You know, it's almost like people just want to play good good games. They want good games with no predatory practices. The trailer for Star Wars Outlaws didn't get disliked to hell because of a strong jawline. It got disliked to hell because of the expensive special editions, online connectivity requirement, and season pass in a single-player game.
And in turn, gamers saw it as a giant fuck you to all the prissy, sanctimonious, fun-killing developers that are slowly strangling Western gaming.
Look, I want to make something really clear, and you might be surprised at me saying this, but you can have attractive women in your game. I've never heard anyone say that you can't, except for like certain gaming news outlets. I'm certainly not saying that you can't. I like characters like Tifa, Aerith, Jill Valentine, Ada Wong, and Samus Aran. Attractive women who are more than just their looks. Bayonetta's presence in her games is drenched in sex appeal and everyone loves her. The internet finds 2B from Nier Automata super attractive, but people also respect her as a character. Attractive women in gaming is cool, but I also think what people take issue with is more so how often women are sexualized compared to men. And these two thoughts can in fact coexist.
Well, there seems to be this weird assumption that gamers can or won't take a female character seriously if they find them physically attractive, so the only solution is to reduce or remove any element of attractiveness and sensuality.
Huh? I'm sorry, sir, do you have any basis for that claim? Or are we just pulling things out of our asses and calling it real again?
Yeah, we know that most of us don't look like Chris Hemsworth or Sydney Sweeney, and that's okay.
Wait, what?
We know we'll never have a body like Chris Redfield or Lara Croft, and that's okay too.
Oh my god, maybe I was wrong about him the whole time.
Why? Because we're not narcissistic idiots who need to see ourselves reflected in everything that we see and do, or have all our hang-ups and insecurities validated by pulling everyone down to our level.
Wait, what? Wait, so now what you're saying is people are putting unattractive characters in games because of narcissism and insecurity with themselves? I assume not both at the same time, because that makes no goddamn sense. Wow, this guy is a master at pulling reasoning for things completely out of his ass with no logic and nothing to back it up. And people just believe him. Wow! You've given multiple reasons as to why this uglification is happening, and they all suck ass. And you know, it's always ulterior motives with these guys. To them, there's no way that someone just went, what if we made her muscular though? No, it's always gotta be some scheme, some agenda, narcissism, insecurity, the rejection of femininity. The more grandiose it is, the more convincing, I guess.
Male characters in movies and TV shows today are often depicted as neurotic, insecure, emotionally fragile, cowardly, verbose, and self-deprecating, generally lacking in agency or the ability to assert themselves in any particular situation. Women, on the other hand, are now written to be stoic, confident, assertive, arrogant, and aggressive, which are the same exact traits that were once considered toxic in men.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Hold on a second. First of all, I'd love to know which male characters you're talking about, because I really hope you're not mistaking sensitivity for weakness. A character having troubles they need to work through doesn't make them a bad character. I would really like to know which of these traits are genuine and which are just your own opinions. Second of all, the traits that you mentioned for women, you said they were considered toxic masculine traits. I get arrogant and aggressive, but confident? Stoic? And I guess assertive depends on who it's directed at, but huh? Again, this person is trying to frame it like it's an invasion. Like, I'm sure there are more sensitive men and more heroic, assertive women being written into movies and TV shows than before, but not to the point where they've overwhelmed the industry. Again, we already went over their claim that femininity is being denied in games, the 5 proper examples they gave versus the plethora of modern feminine characters. Who's to say they're not making a big fuss about something small again? And last of all, who is associating being sensitive with femininity and being stoic and confident with masculinity? Who? This is literally the kind of thing that people are against. You can be stoic and confident and be feminine, and you can be sensitive and still be a manly man. This is what people have been saying for ages. Holy shit. Look, I don't know if you know this, but the idea of, hey, we can have more stoic, heroic female characters, and hey, we can have more masculine female characters, are not mutually inclusive. You can have one without the other. No one is saying that a female character needs to be masculine to be strong, but this genius over here has made this connection in his mind and is speaking it like it's fact. Projection much?
They're basically trying to turn them into men, or at least a warped parody of what they think masculine behavior is.
Needless to say, he's about to make a fucking fool of himself.
Female characters are being redesigned to look more and more like men, because game studios incorrectly associate masculinity with strength and femininity with weakness. Their only solution is to churn out women who look, talk, and act like the toxic men they despise so much. It's actually kind of funny when you think about it. Their own flawed worldview created a problem that they can only solve by replicating the same exact problem that they created in the first place.
I bet you felt so smart when you wrote that. I bet you felt so incredibly smart.
Fucking genius.
Wow. Incredible. You pulled shit out of your ass, ate that shit, and then awarded yourself a gold medal. I really can't believe it. You think the industry created a problem for itself? No. No, it's you who created a problem for yourself. If you just accepted the fact that women can have strong jawlines, look masculine, and be conventionally unattractive, there wouldn't be a problem. But your fragile little mind let these 5 women freak you out because of your unbelievably shallow beauty standards and your unrealistic desire to have everything be perfect according to your values. So you made a video where you threw around conspiracies with no proof or backing, claiming that femininity is under attack when it's not, and getting people riled up over something that realistically has little to no effect on the games that we play in the first place. You created a problem that doesn't exist! Go fuck yourself! The number one thing this guy comes across as to me is sad. Like, it must be so sad living your life being this hung up about appearances. Have you seen other women? Seen them up close? Do you go outside? What kind of life are you living, dude?
Nobody enjoys looking at ugly people.
You know, this isn't even fucking true. I know this because I'm a Dark Souls player, and my favorite thing to do when I start a new game is crank up the settings and mash the create similar face button until I end up with a hideous mess. This is my definition of ugly. Shit that is just completely wacky, unhuman, and not physically possible. I'm not the only one either. FromSoft players love creating the ugliest faces that they can. When Street Fighter 6 came out with its robust character creation, what did people do? Create ungodly abominations from hell. It's funny as fuck. Yes, people love creating beautiful characters, but given the chance, they will make some ugly motherfuckers and will enjoy doing it. Your view on what gamers want isn't entirely accurate, is it? Yeah, this video is a critical stinker, methinks. You know, these kinds of baseless opinions are rampant within gaming communities online. It's overwhelming almost. There's a YouTube rabbit hole of videos like this by creators who want to get people riled up over nothing, and they are so fucking harmful. Don't fall for this shit like I did years ago. I'm sure I'm gonna get comments from people who watch those kinds of videos. What are you gonna do? Call me ugly? I'll end the video with this. If you spend time and effort to look the best that you can, then I respect you. We all want to look the best that we can. If it makes you happy, then you should do it. But never forget that what's on the inside is more valuable. And also, don't be afraid to be you. Confidence in yourself will elevate you and make living life more enjoyable. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna be a responsible adult and supervise this child.